Hello there, sword friends. Today I have a project to share with you, one that is finished. All the artisans are done, and I have a finished sword in my hand, and it is awesome, and I would like to share it with you. Before I do, a reading of Shrooms, the name of this sword. Shrooms, food for thought. Only death awaits. Bending reality to see the face. Now, I'll go over this, but this little card was sent with the sword, and it goes over some of the notion about the shrooms that are on here. There's various mushrooms that are on this sword, and I will go over them with you. So food for thought represents the edible mushroom. The only death awaits represents the poisonous mushroom. Bending reality, there's some psychedelic mushrooms that are on here. To see the face, and then there's a face hidden in one of the mushrooms. Now, the sword itself is many hands have been involved in finishing it up. The blade is a Howard Clark L6 blade. Howard Clark is a prolific swordsmith out of Iowa in the United States. He makes swords out of Morgan Valley Forge. I'll link his website down below if you want to commission a sword from him. He works in 1086 and L6 primarily, though he dabbles, I'm sure, in other metals as well, but those are what he's primarily making swords from or offers them in. This one happens to be of the L6 variety, and they're known to be very resilient, durable swords. All of them are kind of one-of-a-kind-ish, or rather unique, and Howard makes them all by hand himself in the forge. But you pay a substantial amount of money. I think the going rate for a blade by itself is around $5,000, and in that you get a finished blade that is in kind of a rough grind. So it's not polished, it's not shiny, it's not a finished sword that you can go swing around. Well, you could, but it doesn't have a handle and whatnot on it. It typically doesn't have an edge on it. Anyway, he made the Habaki, I believe, on this one as well. I think that costs a little bit more. Anyway, $5,000 gets you the blade itself from Howard. You can commission them, and there's various lines and whatnot that you have to wait in. I got this one secondhand as a project blade. I'm not sure if it had been sharpened or what had been done with it, but it did have an edge on it, but no other handle other than the Habaki. The Fuchi Kasra were something that I got many, many moons ago on I saw a nice set of Fuchi Kasra, and there's also a Kojiri on this one, the end cap on the sword, and then this Suba that had a mushroom on a log. And it was a really nicely made set of fittings from Patrick Hastings. You don't hear about him too much anymore, but he, 10, 20 years ago, used to make a lot of fittings and be a really well-known figure in the fittings work of Japanese-style swords. And this shows some of the work that he did. It has a beautiful kind of hammered pattern in it. It's got a nice rokusho patina on it. That's a kind of deep orange pattern in these copper fittings. It's got a raised rim on it. Anyway, I bought this set of fittings and thought one day I'll have a sword that warrants putting them on, because they're not an inexpensive set of fittings. Patrick Hastings used to make really, really high-end fittings as well. He was a very capable and talented artist, and these are show some of the work and some of the carving and some of the plating and various things that he could do with the iron brush, but it's certainly not the extent of his capability. He made much more elaborate things. Nevertheless, this was not an inexpensive set of fittings for me to buy many years ago. So Patrick Hastings made the fittings. Again, I bought them secondhand, and then decided, hey, this sword is going to be the one that they go on, because Howard makes really nice swords. These are really nice fittings. Let's stick them together. Josiah Boomershine is the one who did the polish on the blade. He made it sharp and shiny. I'll link his information below as well. He does a great job on polishing. Josiah can do it all, though, if you have an interest in having swords made, if you want them mounted, if you want them polished, or fittings made. He can handle all of that kind of stuff, so ping him if you have questions there. But he did the polish work on it. I'm very happy. It came out very pretty. The hamon is not super zazzy. I would have not minded necessarily more zazz, but at the same time, the polish is beautiful. The lines are really clean, and this one needed a lot of attention. The Smith's polish was not as refined. I suspect that somebody had grinded on it other than Howard, and Josiah made it clean and pretty again. And then lastly, the Mystery Man in Black put it all together for me and hand carved a number of these kind of wooden Nuske little sculpture things that are of the mushrooms. So he designed it. I sent him the sword and said, whatever you want, here's the fittings, do your thing. And his thing he definitely did. So he thought of the mushroom, he thought of the kind of Nuske theme, he carved a lot of the pieces by hand, put it all together, and I am absolutely blown away by the end product. It is beautiful, it is different, it is unique, and there's a lot to share. So I'll start with the pommel, the end cap, the Kasra right down here, and it's got a hammered finish, but it's pretty simple, and it marries up to the Ito quite well. The transitions on these custom high dollar swords you'd expect to be nice. This one is no exception. The patina on Rokusho will rub off easy, so you might see some spots where it's starting to rub off, but I think it kind of adds to the character, honestly, a little bit in this, but that's par for the course when you have a Rokusho patina. Anyway, it is a handsome Kasra. It fits on well. I really have no complaints, and I think it blends really well with the Ito that was chosen for this one. I have nothing to offer in terms of my choices. I didn't choose it. The Mystery Man in Black did, and I think he made a great choice. It's laid over a really nice skin of Samegawa. It happens to look nice. I like how the nodules are accentuated here. And the Minuki are where you can kind of first start to see the mushrooms integrated. And these, I believe, are the psychedelic mushrooms. But the basic gist is here that you have Minuki that are hand carved out of ivory, pre-ban ivory, worth noting. I'm not sure if they're old piano keys or what it is. And then there's mammoth ivory integrated as well. Anyway, they're all hand carved, and this is kind of where they start in. So it travels up the handle, which incidentally is the Ito's tight. It indexes well. I like the color. I like how it all came out. It's beautiful. Moves up to the Fuchi, got the kind of simple hand hammeredness again going to it. That lines up with the Suba, and there's a little bit more to talk about here. So the Suba is like a flat plate of copper that has some pieces inlaid into it made out of silver with some kind of gold detailing on it. There's a carving on the opposite side, kind of chiseled in, and then a raised rim around the outside. So there's a lot of little features going on this Suba, and they're all hand done and all relatively painstaking. This is where the second mushroom is. You can kind of see the bottom of what looks like a toadstool style mushroom or something like that, but a mushroom growing on a log in a bog. Moving up from there, you can see some other Nuske style carved mushrooms integrated into the Suba. One has a face on it. This is at the end of the poem that was provided. One is edible, one is not. One is very poisonous. The mushrooms though all rest on this kind of wood stained kind of mushroom on a log in a bog kind of situation here. So it has a kind of a not rough, but a very woody mushroom boggy kind of look. And I think it all works out really well. There's a horn kurigata kojiri, the metal kojiri is at the end, but horn kurigata and koiguchi, the mouth area of the scabbard. The blade itself has a copper habaki on it, and this was initially made by Howard Clark, but the Mystery Man in Black carved in a mushroom symbol on here as well, which gives it some additional detail and texture. And then the blade has a Howard Clark, L6 style, almost Saguha style hamon that runs the length. The Josiah did the polish on it. It came out beautiful. The lines are crisp and clean. The Yokote is really nice. It's a beautiful sword. He did an excellent job on polishing. And if I back up and just talk about how the sword feels in the hand. So before it was sent off to polish, did a little bit of cutting with it. It had a rough edge on it, and it probably is going to cut a lot better now with a good polish on it and a correct edge put on. But it cut actually reasonably well for an unpolished, unsharpened sword. I took it to tatami, and it moved around well before, but now it just has a sense of elegance. I'm not sure how much material was removed. Not a lot, but it has this nimble but authoritative feeling in the hand. It's wonderful. It could easily make a solid blade for Toyama, but I can't imagine that this one would be hard to move around for a while as well. It has a wonderful feeling in the hand. I really like it, but it's also very expensive, and I'm loath to use it too much because I'm likely going to sell this. That's initially why I got it. Now that it's all done, I hope the next owner, I hope it finds its forever home. But I don't think it's for me. It's not quite my size, and it's not bedazzled with swirly mitsudomes, but I am absolutely in love with how it all came out, and I really, really like how it feels. So if it stuck with me forever, then I'm not regretful about that either. It certainly does have the feeling of a sword that I really, really like. It indexes well, it moves well. I feel like I can deliver a good cut with it. I've shown that I can deliver a good cut with it, but it also actually has an elegance to it that makes me feel like I could do EI with it for a while too. And those two things, something that is going to be solid in the cut, that's going to perform well, holds up really well given the reliability and reputation that Howard has for making blades, and something that feels as nice as this does, are just a rare combo of art and craftsmanship and cool that have come together. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the tour of this sword. It is one that I happen to really enjoy. Hopefully you enjoy it as well. It will be for sale. I'm not sure when you watch this video if it still is. It may have sold, it may not, but I'll link it in the description down below. And if it's still up, then hey, take a look. And if it's not, hopefully you enjoyed the look over and hopefully gave you some ideas for maybe a project you might have in the future. That's all I've got though. Cheers, and thanks for watching.